Okay. I don't know what was that about. What's going on, everybody? You listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast. Yeah, a few minutes ago we just had some technical difficulties with the sound, and that is different because I normally don't have issues with the sound. Okay, but yeah, much love to the fam. I really appreciate you guys coming out. This is a little different. Normally I don't do um lives as much as I used to, and so for this to come out with a hiccup like that, that's pretty different. But um, for those who are here, shout out to brother Elliot. He invited me last week uh, to the brothers brunch or book club, and it was great. It was really great. We had a good time. We engaged in some conversation. We was in the book, The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, which was really good. It was at Sankofa, and I had a good time, and I really appreciate that. And so today's topic: why we should study 21st century African American history. This is a revamp because a few minutes ago, I don't know what happened, right? But I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, because we're about to get into it. We're going to deal with Black History Month. Um, I was I was kind of debating whether or not we do it, but I'm gonna have to do it my way. Okay, that's the only way I got to do it. So why study 21st century Black history? Why should we get into it like that? Shoot, the last 25 years has been epic. Okay, normally during Black History Month, we normally would deal with, say, post 1865 Reconstruction period. Okay, thank you, brother Elliot. Yeah, you can. All right, you can hear me. I was struggling. I'm like, I was talking, but nothing was. Y'all can hear nothing. Okay, but yeah, I appreciate brother Elliot coming through. I know he was enjoying his rest. I really appreciate that. But normally we deal with Black history in spurts. We would deal with, say, the Reconstruction period. We would deal with civil rights movement, and that's about it. But the last 25 years have been legendary, and so we have to understand. There's a couple things I want to address. We have to understand, first of all, contemporary social dynamics. Second one, highlighting African American contribution, and if we have time, we get to the third one, combating historical erasure and misinformation. Okay, so this is the reason why. There's basically three reasons why we should study African American history in the 21st century. I mean, from 2000 all the way up to 2025. Okay, 21st century, understanding contemporary social dynamic, highlighting African American contribution, and combating historical erasure and misinformation because it is happening. Okay, for those who don't know, I do teach social studies, I do teach history, and so a lot of stuff gets omitted because it's not on a standardized test, but it is up to us to share that information, right? So the 21st century has witnessed profound social shifts that has redefined race relations and systemic in inequities. Studying African American history during this era, during the 21st century, will provide insight on how fast injustices shape modern realities. One key aspect is the emergence, of course. A lot of people like to use that as a cuss word, Black Lives Matter. That movement was a global force against police brutality and systemic racism. We have to be honest. After the civil rights movement, it was not a lot of things happening when it came down to, not on a massive scale, maybe on a local level, but not on a massive scale to where organizations were getting organized to have that discussion. Okay, about police brutality, about issues in the community. Yeah, there was some the NOI and many other organizations from time to time would say something, but at that level, not that much, right? Until uh the last couple, the last decade or so. So it's founded in 2013 by Patrice Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Samedi. So Black Lives Matter (BLM) become a pivotal platform for addressing issues such as mass incarceration, economic equality, and voter suppression. It is still happening, with or without the organization. Is it still happening? Yes. Okay. Now, to my understanding, they're trying to find out other ways of incarcerating people. Okay. In matter of fact, dealing with probation, these people, with ankle bracelets and so on, they're outside of prison, but they're stuck at home for 23 hours a day. You see what I'm saying? Prison without walls, right? And so we have to deal with this. We have to call a spade, right? So the Black Lives Matter movement impacts extend beyond protests. That's the thing. Normally, when people hear about these organizations, say much love to the Black Panther Party and many others, you see them getting active, but you don't see them doing other things like providing free breakfast and lunch for young people. Okay, you always see them wearing their leather jackets and all black and doing this, but you don't see them filling out paperwork and making sure things are running as smooth as they should be, right? And that's the thing. We gotta get out of, say, romanticizing the movement or those movements. We got There was some work behind that. There was some effort behind it. There was a lot of meetings. And I would tell you, I do not like meetings. But you got to go to them, right? You got to be in the room. And so they had those meetings, they had those conversations before it got to this point. Okay. So they wanted marginalized voices to be heard. And so, for example, following the murder of George Floyd in 2020, protests erupted worldwide. This was a worldwide thing. The fam out there in Nigeria was upset. You see what I'm saying? It was not just in the United States. It was a global issue, and it was put on display for everybody to see. Okay. And so, and even still, I think it is still echoing, dealing with that incident. So this kind of thing led to policy reviews and policing and heightened awareness of systemic racism. By studying movements like Black Lives Matter, we gain clearer picture of the intersectionality of social justice. It's not just, say, race, but it's race and class, race and something else. You see what I'm saying? That's what they call intersectionality. Where, like at the intersection of a street, these two streets are crossing here. So these issues are crossing here at this place. So it's not just we see intersectionality, say, in education, where the student, he's struggling academically. Why? Because he's not focused. Why? Because he's hungry. So let's deal with that. Okay. Or let's deal with, say, okay, we got him something to eat, but now there's a deficit somewhere. What's going on, Brother Mo? I'm glad y'all can hear me, because I was really talking loud and saying nothing. Right? So, yeah, we're talking about why we should study 21st century African American history. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We about to get active. So this is this is Black History Month. We're about to be in Black History Month, and I got to do it my way. I can't do what everybody else is doing. And I was told to, if I drive my own lane, no matter how large or small the lane is, I'm gonna pick up somebody, right? So, but yeah, so we're understanding contemporary social dynamics. So, additionally, studying African American history in the 21st century, last 25 years, reveals how historical marginalization has evolved. Okay, because it's no longer, say, redlining, it's no longer Jim Crow issues, it's no longer the white neighborhoods and the Black neighborhoods. It's finessed its way into other things. So Sister Michelle Alexander, she got a real good book, The New Jim Crow. That's really good. That's a really good book, y'all. Check it out. Illustrates how mass incarceration functions as a modern day racial case system, disproportionately affecting African Americans. This analysis challenges simplistic narratives about racial progress and emphasizes the need for systemic change. That book, as well as Understanding the 13th Amendment, opened my eyes about how the system is actually hindering us. Yes, right is wrong for sure. But for some reason, there are some things that are reported in one area is not reported in the others. You see what I'm saying? So, and she highlights that. So This analysis challenges simplicity narratives, like I said. Furthermore, contemporary events such as racist disparities, dealing with dealing with COVID. Okay, when that happened, it really amplified the health issues in our community. Okay, a lot of us lost people during that time because we was out the gate, we wasn't getting the help that we needed. But then it really showed up that not only we wouldn't get the help we needed, we weren't as healthy as we should have been. Okay, so this reveals significant health disparities, with African Americans experiencing higher infection and mortality rates, often due to pre-existing social and economic inequalities. Some of the president's projects will hinder us during his presidency. Yeah. A lot of people, shout out to Brother Mo. A lot of people confused. They didn't understand that the Affordable Health Care Act was for everybody, and they just focused on Obamacare. Bro, that was the Affordable Health Care Act. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you gotta read the paperwork. This is not a bowl game. This is not football, us versus them. This is one of those things where it impacts everybody, and some people are pulling plugs everywhere, not really understanding where the power source is. Yeah. So understand. Yeah. So understanding these dynamics is not only academically enriching, but also socially essential. It equips individuals and institutions with the tools to recognize and dismantle systemic barriers. So, not just pointing out the problem, but doing something with it. Okay, I am a solution-based person. After a while, we know what the problem is. So, what are we going to do? Okay, so like my little cousin used to say, so what's next? Okay, yes, we know what the issue is, but is there a solution? And I've been told the solution is in the problem, right? So by delving into the intricacies of contemporary African American history, we better understand the challenges that persist, right? So before we get to the next point, which is highlighting African American contributions, where are you guys from? Where are you from? Okay, put in the chat. Let me put this in here. I am from Dallas. Okay, I'm from Dallas. Tell me where you're from. All right. Don't say Pluto either. All right, tell me where you're from. Okay. Shout out. Okay, Brother Mo, Dallas. Okay. Tell me where you're from. So we're about to highlight number 2, highlight African American contributions. So yeah, yes, sir. So we all Dallas boys in here. We ain't got nothing else to do. Oh man. But speaking of having nothing else to do, Queen Cam decided she accepted an engagement today. Like, so it is a skating function. It is a skating function. Guess what time this function is? But I have to get out the community for me. My kids, yeah, I understand. I understand. I get it. Sometimes we love where we're from, but sometimes we can't embrace all of that. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to move up and move on. You know, for you and yours, right? But yeah, so we have a skating event. It's at 10:30. I got a question. Should I, after this live, should I go ahead and take a nap? Because it's 10:30 tonight. Remember, I had school. She has an event, and should I take a nap? Man. But yeah, so let's get to it. So we gotta we gotta highlight some of our contributions. We did contribute to society. Sometimes we forget about that. You know, that's the reason why we got to focus on the last 25 years, is because say if we just focus on post-Civil War era, Reconstruction, civil rights, yeah, and then we say, oh, that was back then. There's some things that are happening right now, live and in color, that we need to talk about. So of course, uh, love it or lump it, Barack Obama's presidential election was legendary. Okay. in the election of 2008 marked a historic milestone symbolizing both progress and the complexities of racial dynamics in America. Okay, the reality is, as a president, all you're doing is executing the laws that are written. Executive, execute. Okay, as I was telling my government students, okay, dealing with constitutional law. We didn't go too far into it, but I broke it down like this: the executive branch, you execute constitutional law. Legislative, you actually write those laws, you legislate, and judicial, you're judging over that. Some people try to overlap, in which you can't. But dealing with Obama, his presidency was characterized by the initiatives such as the Affordable Care Act, which we talked about. Some people try to throw away everything, thinking it was just one person, Obamacare, not realizing that it was impacting them, it was influencing them. Okay, it aimed at expanding healthcare access, and my brother's keeper initiative, which sought to address opportunity gaps facing young men of color. Obama's leadership demonstrated the possibilities of African American political power while also highlighting the resistance and challenges that persist, such as the rise of overt racial hostility and systemic obstruction. So, yeah, he was president, but he couldn't answer all our questions. There's some questions that we got to answer ourselves, y'all. We got to actually be in a situation, excuse me, we got to be in a situation where we have we have to take ownership of our own prosperity and our own progress. Excuse me. So, um, we have to take ownership of that, especially if we are in those spaces. A lot of us got college education, a lot of us got degrees, a lot of us have influence. Let's use our influence and our gifts and talents to help somebody else. Okay. So, deal with politics. So, in the fine arts, check this out. African American creatives have redefined storytelling and centering Black voices and experiences. Figures like Ava DuVernay. Okay, she did a fantastic job dealing with. Of course, we saw the movie Selma, which was outstanding. I love that. But did you see that movie When They See Us? Yeah, the Exonerated Five. That was good. You know, a sister made that, right? So they're seeing us through our eyes. I've seen, matter of fact, there's a documentary I seen that was coming out recently. I forgot the name of it. It was dealing with Black people in the Black community, but it was directed by a white person. That don't make sense. That don't make sense at all, right? So we have to be able to tell our story as often as we can, whenever we can, right? And so she did that fantastic work, and she shed light on systemic issues like voter suppression and wrongful imprisonment of our Black youth. Okay, similar to, so we have to amplify those stories. Of course, we know our sister Beyonce. She did. Uh, she used some of her platform to amplify, say, African American heritage and culture, dealing with that video, that the cinematic video Lemonade. Pretty good. But I got a question though. Y'all tell me in the chat, what other recent artists have recently addressed our issues right now? Okay, let me know. Let me know, because I'm yet to really see. Now, Childish Gambino, he did. Childish Gambino did a video. This is America. That was pretty good. That was pretty interesting. All right, but now, so we have politics, we have fine arts. And let me know if there's any other artists out there that's really highlighting that. Okay. But now, science and technology, this was pretty good. Okay. African Americans continue to break barriers and groundbreaking contributions. Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett and immunologists played a pivotal role in developing Moderna. That's a vaccine. I have not heard about that. We hear about the big companies, but we don't hear about the individuals that are impacting, making these moves and making these decisions. It's amazing to hear that a sister helped with the vaccine. Our children need to hear that. it seems people is now about the bag. Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, people are in it for the money. Um, but you shouldn't always do things for the money. I know we got to get paid, but don't do everything for the money, right? So, but yeah, it seems like, and so what happens is you're neglecting helping people or being a blessing to others for a quick buck, right? We got to pay attention to that. So her work not only highlighted critical contributions of African Americans in global health, it challenged the stereotype about who leads STEM fields, STEM fields. We are in the mix. Just matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I saw some brothers and sisters um, being inaugurated or being put in the Southern University nursing program. We're active. We're getting involved. Matter of fact, shout out to my son. He just Prince Cam. He just won his another track meet. His 400, but he is into computer engineering. So a lot of our children are in STEM. And then somebody mentioned, yeah, he's out there in Oklahoma getting it in. But a lot of our children don't see adults doing it, but they don't realize they are making history themselves. I have a lot of young people at my school, um, in STEM, in computers, in nursing, and all these things. And then somebody said, "Well, why don't the how did they say? They say, why don't the the icons, why don't the famous people mention STEM?" They may not know much about it. Number one. Number two, if they don't know about something, why do you expect them to speak on that? See what I'm saying? We're doing them a great disservice. But what they can do and what they should do is discuss the importance of education. Education is, oh man, education is freedom. Okay, and we still need it. We still need it. Okay, so we make contributions in the fine arts, in sciences, in STEM, politics. Okay, Sister Crockett is making it happen in the house. Of course, she's a Dallas girl, so you know how that go. So serious business, right? So, we talked about understanding contemporary social dynamics with Black Lives Matter and other political movements in 21st century, highlighting African American contributions. But I got a question. We finna end this. We finna go ahead and end this beef right now. I got a question. Serious question. Grits or oatmeal? We couldn't resolve it last time. Grits or oatmeal? I need to know because people like Sister Linda and Baba Shabaka, they saying both. No. If you had a choice, if you're at the restaurant and getting breakfast, grits or oatmeal? Put in the chat, comment. I ain't gonna say. As a matter of fact, H-Rap Brown's ghost. He said, look, he had something serious to say about them grits. Grits or oatmeal. Okay. So one more thing. So combating historical erasure and misinformation. Oh, all right. I see it. Elliot, he says oatmeal. Now what kind? Oh, hold on. Elliot says oatmeal. Mo says grits growing up, but oatmeal now. Sometimes you gotta switch up. My mom, he said my mama used to fix grits real good, but wifey fix them different. So is oatmeal. Oh, Miss Blue Aries said oatmeal. Uh-oh, we up. Man. I'm gonna say this. If I had a choice, it'd be oatmeal with cinnamon. Brown sugar, yeah. So my daughter, she loves, she would make some oatmeal real quick. Okay. But yeah, so we solved that. One. All right. But now, already, yeah. So combating historical erasures and misinformation. So the last 25 years, there has been not only gentrification as far as physical location, but there's been gentrification of information. They've been finessing our information. Okay. So African American history, even in the last 25 years, is often marginalized or misrepresented. Like I told you, there was a documentary on black children, and a white person was putting it together. Right? So studying this history allows us to confront and correct these inaccuracies. For example, the narrative surrounding protests and activism often reduces these events into isolated incidents of unrest rather than acknowledging them as part of a broader struggle for justice. Okay, scholars like Ibram X. Kendi have emphasized the importance of studying racism as a systemic issue rather than a series of individual acts. Okay, this is not a one-off situation. Just like those problems weren't one and done. The organizations that we're part of, that we participate in, some of the protests is an ongoing thing. And so, and to think about it, Malcolm X, when he left the nation, I can't say that I'm very knowledgeable in the works of Minister Malcolm. But he realized that this was once he left the United States, he realized that this was a global thing, and he tried to make some adjustments. Matter of fact, we will talk about Minister Malcolm next Tuesday. Somebody asked me about Malcolm X, and so we're gonna deal with it. I told you we're gonna do Black History Month. We're gonna do it the way we do it best. So the fam is asking, so I'm gonna answer, right? So we're gonna talk about Minister Malcolm next week. But so Kende, his work Stamped from the Beginning provides a framework for understanding how deeply entrenched racism is in American society. Okay, and offers strategies for combating it, not just providing problems, but what's the solution, right? So the role of media in perpetuating stereotypes of ignoring African American achievements further underscores the need for this study. There are some stereotypes and tropes that are still being played. So that's why I asked the question, grits or oatmeal, because H-Rap, he's not on here right now, but he asked about the icon, the icons and the imagery that they use, like Ancient Mama and Uncle Ben, blackface. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the biases they would use to put on the food we eat, the imagery that they put in front of us. Okay? Yeah, we're going to talk about it. So historically, African Americans have been portrayed in ways that reinforce negative stereotypes to minimize their contributions. He just dances. She just sings. That's it. There's more to it than that, right? So in the 21st century, these issues persist, though platforms like social media have allowed for more direct counter narratives by examining how African Americans are represented in film, literature, and news. We can challenge harmful portrayals and promote more accurate, inclusive narratives. We got to have that conversation, and we got to be okay with it. We got to be okay to say that, oh, that's not cool, that's not right, right? So, yeah, images are important. Thank you, Brother Elliot. They are important. How? Because that a lot of people may not read a lot of information, but they will be able to see something. A lot of people are visual learners, so they learn by seeing, and so they have a positive image. One movie that really changed the outlook on Africans and Africa and everything in the 80s was Shaka Zulu. That movie there, Shaka Zulu, that changed everything. It went from, say, that primitive look to, oh, this dude's a warrior for real. Images matter. The movie like Black Panther, even though that was fiction, it was Marvel Comics and all those things, but the imagery, it resonated with our children to see us as heroes, to see us as doing well. Images, like Elliot said, images are important, y'all. Okay, so we have to address those things. So activists and scholars like Kimberly Crenshaw, who developed the concept of intersectionality, provide essential tools for analyzing how race intersects with gender, class, and identities. This approach enriches our understanding of the African American experience. Yeah. And so, for example, Black women, our sisters often face compounded discrimination. Not just they are Black, they are women. Okay. And so we have to combat historical erasure and misinformation. It's on site. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah. You're right. Shout out to the 8. Man, I'm telling you, what a time to be alive. If you was in the 80s, I'm saying 80s and 90s, that was legendary. I'm just saying. I love, my parents and everything, but man, the 80s, you know. So that we're gonna I got something for that too. But I really appreciate you guys coming. We will some people ask me about Nubia. We are going to get back to ancient Nubia, um, ancient Kush. Oh, in the 80s, but love 70s music. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love, hey, and I love Parliament, George Clinton, Funkadelic. That's my jam. That's my road trip music. So, but yeah, we're going to get back into ancient Nubia, the Nile Valley civilizations, Queens of the South later on this spring. But I felt it was necessary to discuss Black History Month while we're in the midst of it, and the 21st century contributions and all the things. So, but I really appreciate you guys coming, because I know in a minute, I'll be going back out, skating and all the things. I hope I don't break my ankles. But next Tuesday we will discuss Malcolm X and his contributions to the world, because one of our brothers I think in Kenya asked about brother Malcolm X and his work. So, and he asked me in Swahili. That was the cool part. so that was pretty cool. But if you haven't, don't forget to subscribe and like and all the things. But I really appreciate you guys coming out. Shout out to you guys for coming. Shout out to the Ujumbe alumni who's been rocking with me for 4 years. Yeah. Do you have anything on Africans in the Grand Canyon? I heard about it, but I haven't read much on it. And I know, and the reality is, African. And Brother Mo's asking, do you have anything on Africans and the Grand Canyon? Africans traveled before slavery and were present around the world. He is right. Brother Mo is correct. The reason why we have what we have, and the reason why Africans know what they know, is because centuries before the Western world impacted Africa, the Africans did leave. They did go across the Atlantic on their own free will and accord. They went to the Gulf. They went to these various places and they explored. There are many accounts of, say, Latin America, many others, where they mention how they were dressed before Columbus got there. Okay, like the story the book They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima mentions how people in West Africa went from the West African coast over to various parts of the world, various parts of the Americas. So it wouldn't be far fetched if they went up and through the Grand Canyon, but I haven't really read on that. You got me on that one. I ain't gonna say I know, but it's interesting for sure, for sure. Any other questions? Of course, the question still remains: grits or oatmeal? So far, oatmeal is winning. I'm just telling you. I'm biased like that. So, any other questions before we call it? I really appreciate you guys coming. Yeah. I got to do another one. Shout out to Brother Elliot. He invited me to the brothers the book club and brunch at Sankofa. And speaking of Sankofa, if you are in the DFW area, Ezra Quasi, he will be presenting him and his wife, his beloved wife, will be out there at Sankofa off of Westmoreland. He's going to be presenting some information. He gives tours in Egypt almost every year, all the time. Okay, so it'd be wonderful to come and learn from him and sit with him. And I'm gonna try to make it. I'm trying to make it because he studied under Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. So Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. So that's really cool to hear from a scholar of that caliber in our community, in our midst, right? Africans travel to Australia and their hieroglyphics of them trading. Yeah, I'm sure. We're Africans aren't in the diaspora that aren't illiterate. Whenever they went somewhere, they wrote about it. Now, the thing is, do we understand what they wrote? That's a different thing. But they wrote something. It wasn't just oral tradition. It was written. They wrote it in lettering, hieroglyphics, Meta Nature, Arabic, or whatever it was, Swahili, whatever it was. They wrote it. And I talked about how there was trade along the Indian Ocean and Swahili coast. I talked about that. So yeah, they I'm sure they went to Australia. I'm sure they did. And they traded. Yeah. Any other questions? Don't forget, we will be talking about Malcolm X next week. So are there any other questions before we call it? All right then. All right. I really appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget, for those who are new. No problem. Great job. Thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all for spending time, putting up with these technical difficulties. I was talking loud and saying nothing. I had to plug some stuff in and get my life together. But I really appreciate you guys coming. And don't forget to subscribe. And I will talk to you later. Appreciate you guys coming. All right.